Hey everyone, welcome back to The Lookout. It's coming up in the last week of October. Haven't done a video for a while, so I thought I'd give you guys an update on what we're up to around here. We made a ton of videos this summer, and it's easier to be motivated to make a video every day when there's a big fire that's burning and things are dynamic. Now that fire season's over, we've got kind of changed pace a little. Got a bunch of projects going on for The Lookout and also just for work. So I thought I'd kind of run through some of those in the form of a slideshow and show you some video clips. So here we go. All right, so one thing we got going on here at The Lookout in the off season is blacksmithing. Got a blacksmith shop, and I make stuff there to sell kind of in the fall holiday season. And so been working on some kind of decorative wrought iron kind of work, forging pieces for that, and really enjoyed this stuff. Kind of free form botanical forms. And also like making blades, so made a bunch of kind of meat cleavers and what we call bush swords. Sold some of those at a craft fair over in Nevada, and we're going to be selling those here in Chico and also on The Lookout. Here's handles. We've made a bunch of fire pokers and steak flippers. Some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff's going to be going up on The Lookout here early November for holiday shopping. These are the handles for the local walnut handles for the cleavers. As we're getting kind of done with oiling them up. Also doing some kind of decorative mountain coat hooks. So these are forged texture in sheet steel, and then we forge hooks on there. It's kind of detail of the figured walnut we've got that's local here from Chico that we're using in knife handles. And my wife's also doing craft fair work this time of year, so she's making pottery, and we kind of burn the midnight oil to get ready for a big show we did over in Nevada, Genoa. And this is my booth there, selling the hooks and the bush swords. We stayed at Wally's Hot Springs, which is south of Genoa, about maybe 2 miles, and there's a really nice bike path. So in the morning, rather than fight the traffic of like 30 or 40,000 festival goers, got to ride in at sunrise to kind of open our booth and get everything lined out. But that was a pretty nice way to be in that space. And then after that, ran down to Bridgeport and went out in the desert. Got a buddy who's living out there, and got to spend a couple days just kind of in the sagebrush, decompressing after the big craft fair push. Nice way to kind of end the season. It got cold while we were there. It rained a little bit. Kind of the middle of nowhere in pretty beautiful. Went up in the high country there and checked out the aspen groves. Aspen are turning right when we were there, so we rode bikes up in those. And that was a real treat. The east side's a really different kind of fire ecology, and so I felt like on the way back I was making some lookout videos. I've got so many videos that are kind of in progress right now, and commitments that are keeping me from editing them. But this was for a video that's kind of about how invasive weeds and cheatgrass kind of take over after burns in the Great Basin, and this is an area that is burned several times. It's kind of between Minden and Bridgeport. Just an area that's burned over and over on the east side, and kind of looks at how the weeds can just take over after fires in the Great Basin. I pulled in near the town of Walker. I was here in 2001 on the Cannon Fire. It's one of the first fires I did as a mapping contractor, and while I was there, there was an aviation disaster. C-130 flew down right over these mountains here, trying to drop to save this town, coming down over the steep bluffs here, and they came in too steep, and they had a choice: either they can pull the wings off the plane trying not to crash, or they could crash into this field here. And turns out they did both. Wings came off the plane, and it augured in right here in this valley, in this area. So I stopped in and checked out this memorial. It's moving, you know. It's why we wonder why you look out at this field full of weeds, and you wonder sometimes why we have to sacrifice people to save a batch of weeds. And you know, anyway, it's kind of Weather Beat Memorial to Weather Beat Place, the east side. But I was glad to stop there and add a little bit of the lookout to it. And while it's there, a guy pulled up, and he was retired CAL FIRE helicopter pilot, and we connected, and reminded me why we travel, you know, just to have these experiences, meet these people, you know, form quick connections, and feel like we're part of something larger. Got back to the valley, and the birds were just going off, letting us know that fall's arrived. So I've had a couple of evenings out there in the valley, just checking out the birds. I'm just so glad that fire season's over. Of course, it means we go straight into prescribed fire season. But that's what we'll talk about next year. I'm going to be the incident commander for the Maidu Caltrex. So Caltrex is an event that goes on here every fall. There's events around Northern California that prescribe fire training exchange. So that's what Trex is. This is my co-IC. This is Megan Herrera from the Berry Creek Rancheria Maidu Indians. And so we're going to be burning on land that the tribe owns in Berry Creek that burned in 2020. And we're going to be using fire out here to they've been doing a ton of thinning and pile building. And so we're going to be using fire on this property in a large part informed by what Megan wants to do here as a kind of cultural practitioner. You know, we're helping train the tribe in how to use fire safely, and they're training us in the plants and in kind of helping to understand what a healthy landscape could look like here. This is Bob. He's one of their main land managers. So this coming up in a week and a half, we're going to have 80 people out in Berry Creek for 4 days. Kind of a combination of learning about Maidu culture and also us helping them learn how to kind of organize and run prescribed burns. Part of that's been kind of them burning piles out here and getting to put a little fire on the ground in a real small scale to see what it does. Learn about it. So, we say fire is the best teacher. And so our goal for this training is to create a kind of safe environment where these folks can reconnect with fire and using it to manage the land the way we want it. That their people have always done it. On the way back from one of those field days up there in Berry Creek, we stopped and checked out the Phoenix burn. I made a video about that. And this is a CAL FIRE burn that's out east of Orville. Burning's really kind of scaling up in Butte County in the foothills, which is a new thing. We've been burning quite a bit in the foothills, in the upper foothills, in the pines and the black oak. But actually burning in the brush hasn't really been happening at scale in Butte County for a couple decades. So out here east of Orville, CAL FIRE's got a big project. And we did another big project out there with the Fire Safe Council and Terra Fuego Resource Foundation. And so I'll show you some clips here from that. Here's another shot from Phoenix. This is equipment porn for our sponsor QTAC. Nice little slip-in unit we use for prescribed burning with RCD. Running around out in east of Orville this week, I've been working with Terra Fuego as a field observer and just documenting their burn here. This is my scouting rig, and this is the land we burned. And in the foreground here is a bunch of mastication. So I've got 2 videos in the works here about this burn we're doing. One about kind of managing air quality for burns in the foothills, which is difficult because we're part of the Sacramento Valley Air Basin here. And then the other video is just going to be on the operations and how Terra Fuego kind of organized operationally to pull off this 170-acre burn in 2 days right off of Forbestown Road above Orville. A lot of this burn was in mastication. So this is brush and oaks that have been shredded by a machine. They're sprouting species, so you can see that, like, even though this was masticated in May, a lot of this, like, oak sprouts are coming back already like a foot tall. So we burned this, and it burned really hot, which is the point is to get rid of the material here. Interesting thing about this burn was there's a lot of stuff we burned that wasn't masticated that barely would burn just because it was a really cool and moist day. But the mastication burned like, we'd say, burned like the sun. Anyway, this kid out there said, how does someone get to have a job where they ride around on a bike in a burn with a camera? And I said, I don't know, but it's been a long time coming. My job on this fire was to kind of observe smoke also, and so we there'll be a whole video about smoke and smoke management. Got to work on that burn with Firebox, which is one of our channel sponsors here. The owner, Sean Henry, was out. Owner of Firebox, Sean Henry, was out with us on this burn with the new 500-gallon firebox. A lot of the fireboxes we've been using are 300-gallon, but Sean loves to get out and test the equipment and just to play when we're burning. Another kind of nice thing about being out on this particular project was got to work with the Firestorm crew. As many of you know, Firestorm bought the company I founded, Deer Creek Resources, and they've just come on as a Lookout Channel sponsor. So nice to see their crews out working. They had a 20-person crew and a couple engines supporting this burn. Terra Fuego ran this burn, and so we'll talk more about that. But pretty dialed up. This is a pretty dialed burn, and so you guys can look forward to a couple weeks from now when I'm done with my prescribed fire training obligations. We'll be mixing up some of these videos to give you better details of how this burn went down. But for now, I just want to show you some of the highlights, give you some eye candy. This is Terra Fuego crude lighting, and it was almost raining this day. It was cool and moist, but the grass was dry enough. There's enough thatch that it burned well in the grass. Didn't really burn super well in the morning in the oaks, but eventually you got some really good fire effects. Here's Firestorm crew checking the back door. Got some drone footage here of the of this burn we did with Terra Fuego, looking at the fire effects in mastication versus grass. You can see the mastication burns really intensely. Fire lasts a long time, so you have kind of more intense soil effects here. Just things burn down the ash. The point of mastication is to get the fuel into a kind of a configuration that will burn, because a lot of the standing kind of oak and scrub is really difficult to burn unless it's summer, and we can't also do that. So by putting it on the ground, we can come and burn it on a cool and moist day, consume it really well, reduce that tons of fuel per acre, and this burns right up against East Orville. Also got some footage here of burning in grass. A lot of this is just light it and then let it just flank and spread, and pretty low severity burns in the grass. It doesn't burn for very long. Saw a lot of critters just kind of getting out of the way. Saw mice and rats and other just small creatures that can get away from a burn like this because it's going slow and it cools off quickly. Last project we got going on that I want to talk about is got a couple of folks that I've been kind of arguing with on Facebook about fire and fire management, and lots of kind of big picture stuff that is hard to kind of get into in Facebook and other social media. And so we decided we should just get together and go out in the woods and look at some places that they love that have burned up and find some common ground. So that's another project we're working on. We got some help from a producer on that, and just lots of stuff here that's half finished, in large part because I love going burning. And if I got a choice between sitting at a computer editing videos all day or going out on a live prescribed fire, that's not a very hard choice. So thanks to your patience. This time of year, our projects tend to be a little longer, less live streams, more kind of dig into the details. So hang tight. We'll have some more videos. We're also going to be selling merch, sweatshirts, bush swords, fish, new t-shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff for the holidays, and some axes, building some axes. So that's your October wrap up. Time to hit the road. Thanks for supporting the Lookout.